Welcome to Clay Center Now. I'm Shannon Stark with Clay Center Area Chamber of Commerce, and I'm sitting down today with a very fun committee in our community, the Elks Big Show Committee. So we've got lots of men here to talk to us about this big show, and if for those of you in the community that don't know what the Elks Big Show is, we're going to learn all about it today. So this has been running, you said, 29 years. This is the 29th year.
Correct.
Very cool. So just tell me kind of how this got started. It's through the local Elks Lodge, and it's a fundraiser, basically.
Correct.
And just kind of fill us in on the history of how this all came about.
Okay, well, the very first show was held in the fall of 1991. And it was a show that had been done somewhere else. It had been done in Nebraska. And Dottie Scripter, who many people know Dottie.
Yes.
But Dottie Scripter and 3 other ladies were the committee that year.
4 people.
4 people on the committee. And it was a lot of lip sync. It was mainly lip sync, but it was a takeoff of Ed Sullivan. And so it was the Ed Sullivan show. And we got to watch the tape of what they had done in Nebraska and then try to do it here.
Very cool. And this is a big production. I mean, I've been, and maybe it's grown. I'm sure it's grown. I've only been the last 4 or 5 years. So, but I'm sure that first year it was still a big deal that this took off. And
we have had hundreds of cast members, and right now the Big Show Committee is probably bigger than the first show's cast was. You know, so the very first show, many people remember Dan Witters, and he was Ed Sullivan. He was the host, and he had a little, like a karaoke set or something. It was one speaker and a microphone on a very short cord, and it was down here on the floor, and he had like a hold up to his face Ed Sullivan mask. So he walked out with that. Now we have all the makeup, all the costumes. We have big stage built. We have tens of thousands of dollars of equipment, you know, and it's turned into quite a thing.
yeah, and I know I go to the show and I'm like, who's that? I mean, they're made up good and they've got their costumes on, and I can't always even tell who's all in it. And kind of talking about the secretive of it, I mean, this is happening February.
Yeah.
What's the date?
February 15th this year. Yeah.
And you guys don't release any of what the show
No
is
details
gonna be.
about the show,
Yes.
yeah. And we always, and these guys will get into it, but we always kind of have a theme, and that's kept secret. All the acts are kept secret. But that very first show, it actually got delayed a little bit because of weather, but it was in November. We then, all the shows since then, we moved it after the first of the year. And for more than a decade, it was the last week. It was basically this weekend. It was the last weekend of January. And then there became a point where we moved it into mid-February. There were a lot of reasons for that, but moved it into mid-February, and that's what it's been for quite some time now.
Yeah, very cool.
You know, but it started with that committee of 4 ladies and has grown.
And you've been on the committee since day one.
I officially was not on that first committee, but then Dottie kind of had a problem with her knee at the rehearsal, and so I became her legs.
There you go.
And on the very next year, she put myself and Dave Schwab on the committee, and so that was the second year, and then it grew from there.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And I heard you were in the first show, so.
I was. Kind of an interesting story. This guy here is the reason I was in that first show. He was going to be Elvis. He went and rented a pink Elvis costume. The radio station was at that time, I was not long in town, to be honest. And the radio station was above the Union State Bank, and he came into my little cubicle one afternoon and said, "Hey, I got something to pitch to you, Rock." And I said, "Okay. How would you like to be Elvis?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And so he tried to explain a little bit what they were trying to do, and I fit in the costume. So not much talent, but when you fit the costume, that's where you get hornswoggled into going, and I've been in each show since that time.
Very
so.
cool. And your wife,
Susie and I are the only two that's been in every show at this point.
Susie's been in every show as well. Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
And it's fun, and it has grown immensely. Maybe, when was your first show?
Oh, I'm not for sure. I know I played Hank Williams Jr. It's probably been 13, 14 years ago.
And who asked you?
My dad was one of them.
Yeah.
And they've been in it there's a lot of Taylors in it, I guess.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
but no, I think this was my 9th or 10th year on the committee, so it was probably 3 or 4 years before that.
Right. Very
So-
cool. Yeah, and just hearing you guys talk about, Elvis and Hank Williams Jr. and I think that, the community, you really need to come to the show and see for yourself what this is all about, because if you want to be entertained and want a good night out in Clay Center, this is a fun time, and there's always a dance to follow. That's fun. Usually goes pretty late into the night.
It does. We used to always have a rule that we would never do the same number twice. We have compromised that rule a few times now because we're several generations beyond, where we would have started.
Yeah.
And, so not that there's not a lot of material out there that you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. And you have to be 21 to enter. And tickets for sale are $25?
20%.
$25. And who can they contact to get tickets? Is that?
To get tickets, you would either contact Loney Jingles or Gail Westgate. Loney's number's 447-3281.
Impressive.
That's off the top. I'm Gail's. I'm sorry, Gail. I'm not going to be able to rattle that one off for you. But
And also, if you want to call the chamber office or email the chamber, we can get you connected and get you tickets as well. So $25 tickets. There's a meal served as well, $10 meal.
yeah, we cater a meal from Deeks. They bring it in, $10 for a meal. That night, too, we have DVDs available. I think they're $10. Don't
Okay.
quote me on that, though. So people use those as like keepsakes or whatever.
Yeah.
Watch it later.
It's a good night out in Clay Center. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's if you want to go out and have a good night of fun in your hometown, I don't know where else you're going to go.
Right. And be
to have
entertained.
this kind of entertainment.
Definitely.
Exactly.
All right, we'll be right back after this break to learn more about the Clay Center Elks Big Show.
Count on our team at Eagle for reliable internet, TV, and phone, because keeping you connected is what we do. Eagle Communications, our community connected. Count on our team at Eagle for business class phone, internet, and technology solutions, because keeping your business connected is what we do. Eagle Communications, our community connected.
Welcome back to Clay Center Now. I'm Shannon Stark with Clay Center Area Chamber of Commerce, and I'm sitting down today with the Elks Big Show. We've got some committee members, and we also have a Elks board member. So Matthew, we were talking a little bit before we went off air about this being the Elks Big Show being the biggest fundraiser for the Elks. And can you kind of talk about why that's so important and why we need to keep this going, and it's been a good thing for the lodge.
Sure. Well, Elks, everybody, I hope you know what Elks are. It's a fellowship, a club, but we do benefit, for the community. This is our big project we do every year, our big fundraiser, amongst numerous other things we do, but this is the big one. What we use this money for is different things community, like we have a back to school fair. We'll buy book bags, soccer balls for the kids, different schools. We have a toy run in the winter, needy families. We've done potatoes to turkeys, toys. We have a hoop shoot for kids. We have a flag day, Veterans Day, soup suppers for them. It just goes on and on. We are constantly doing something every year. This also helps us. We have scholarship programs. We give kids back, 3 or 4 every year.
I was an Elks scholar,
Yeah.
so thank
Everybody
you.
loves that, yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like the beef programs through 4-H. We go
Yeah.
with that too. We did a deal once. We got a grant, this help with. We did playground equipment. It never ends. Book drop boxes, Big Lakes. We go to Big Lakes. We take them bowling, take them.
You do a big Christmas party.
Yeah,
with
we do a
big-
Christmas party with
Big
them,
Lakes.
take them here and there. Like I said, hoop shoot, soccer shoot, flag day.
Yeah.
We did bicycle helmets for kids when you bought them, all bicycle helmets. You come down, so.
Yeah.
And if you want to know, this being the biggest one, what we do raise on this, it's hard to pinpoint it down, but, we start meeting as a committee a lot of times in, September, October, sometime in there. Show date is February 15th, but there's practices and days down here, and, people having communion down here and, having their fun, whatever that may be. It all helps us out. So start to finish, it may be $12,000. I can't tell you exactly.
Right.
But this is the big one.
It
This
keeps
is
you going.
Yeah. And the other good thing about it that I hope these guys hit on too is the different people that come down, would I hang out with Rocky, on a typical day? No, but you get to here as a group. Your group kind of come like a family.
Yeah.
And then hang out with different people in the community, grow that way too.
Yeah, you definitely get to know your committee members and your cast, even the cast members. And so with the way that works, casting the show, I mean, can you guys talk a little bit about that and how, you said you have over 100 or somewhere.
Depends on the
year. Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the year, and I'll let Brock or Rocky go into the casting, but it's a timetable that we have to work backwards. Because we've got different marks we have to meet. We need to know. It takes us a long time to determine what this year's show is going to be. And so then we'll go from there.
And every year you have a theme. Yeah.
Yeah, and the theme gets argued on and tossed around, and some people will bring the same theme back up year after year after year until finally we cave in and use that theme. But, we have a list of cast members from the past, and then we make sure those that want to be in, we get them in if possible. We have some new members, that approach us and say, hey, I'd like to be in the show. We do have, just to be real clear, we have a rule: if you want to be in the show, you have to have been to the show at some point as an audience member, so you know what you're getting into and you can handle what we're going to do.
I think when you come and watch, you can really see how much practice and commitment it really is going to take to be in the show. I mean, you realize it's a serious production. It's like, oh, I have to actually practice this and commit to it.
Well, yeah, like this time of year, like January, you pretty well tell your families don't expect seeing me most nights.
Yeah.
Like building stage, that's an everyday. I mean, we have a permanent stage now, but it used to be every year we'd set this whole stage up, and now the Elks has let us leave it permanent. Like you can see behind us where we have black walls, them used to be curtains that we'd have to hang. So, I mean, you'd spend a good month in here every other day trying to build things. And, but it's become so big now, it makes it easier on that part. But you'll have people in here every night till February practicing, which that's good for the Elks too.
Yeah.
So
very good.
When you talked about how much people practice, Rocky, I'm not going to name names, but Rocky will remember this. It was in the first 5 years of the show, and at the first rehearsal, one group didn't realize what it was. Yeah. And they sat out there watching the rehearsal, and they were like, oh no, and you could tell how much they worked on it that week, because they really came around. But they were like just shocked. And they thought it was just gonna, casual. We got asked to be doing this thing, and which is another reason that now people have to have been to a show before, to
really understand. Yeah.
And on top of that, just to look at the stage, I mean, this is a stage that we use for the big show, and it's not big. It always, for a guy that grew up wanting to be on Saturday Night Live his entire life, this is as close as I will ever get to having that opportunity. Their stage is not a whole lot bigger than this either. And so it's just amazing to me every year with Brock and Matt and Tracy Lebo and Jan Kissinger, and I could go on and on about the list of people, but you were here last year, and this was Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Yeah. And it looked like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. It blows my mind what it can look like.
The first year that I was in the audience and I watched, and then the lights come on and you have the dance and everything, and I actually came up to the stage and I was like, this isn't even the same room I was just in 10 minutes ago. So it is crazy how you guys really just transform the room, and it's entertaining and it's very cool. So, all right, well, we will be right back after this break.
With hosted voice from Eagle Broadband, you're in control of the futures for your business phone line. We provide the ring you love to hear. Eagle Broadband, our community connected.
Eagle Technology Solutions is the strategic advisor for your IT business needs. Because if it's important to you, it's important to us. Call today, Eagle Technology Solutions. Technology done right.
Welcome back to Clay Center Now. I'm Shannon Stark with Clay Center Area Chamber of Commerce, and I've been sitting down today with the Elks Big Show Committee. And we've talked a lot about themes and cast members and how this is a big production. So I kind of want to hear from you guys. What have been your favorite themes throughout the last 29 years? Do you guys have all those on the...
Okay, well, this will be my, 12th show, I think. Themes, I like the Muppets. We did that one year. I like Saturday Night Live. We did it. And I guess I'd say Star Trek too. People I have played, my very first year, I was in a full-on red dress. I was a woman, and I danced and shook and did my thing. I've been Ron Burgundy. I've been Wayne from Wayne's World. I've been Lenny and Squiggy. I mean, it's just on and on, you know. So,
fun.
Different people, like I said, different people you're with, different groups. Those are probably my 3 top ones.
Yeah.
I'll give it to he'll have more.
Well, no, actually, my problem is I'll probably have less because I've been around every single show. And so I look at the list and I go, oh, that was my favorite. And then I keep reading the list. Oh, no, that was my favorite. Oh. But I would put Hee Haw pretty high as an overall show. And when I watch that show again now, it just makes me laugh.
Yeah.
I mean, watching it. And then I got to see both rehearsals in the show, and I laughed then. And one of the favorite acts I did was in that show, but it's kind of hard to pick when we're on 29 years. Cheers was a good show, so I don't know. You just keep going through the list, but Hee Haw would have to be pretty high for me.
Cool.
Hee Haw was a little before my time, but I've seen the show. That was a good one. Probably for me, even last year we did Willy Wonka and Chocolate Factory, and I got to be one of the Oompa Loompas with the orange face. And I actually did that with your dad.
Yeah.
And my dad.
Yeah. And
that was really fun. Another one I did, probably The Gong Show. I played Tim McGraw. That was my first year in the main cast. And, of course, they wouldn't tell me what I was going to do. And then I said, heck yeah, I'll be in the main cast. So I show up, and then I start reading my lines, and I'm like, well, wait a minute. It says I'm supposed to sing. So every line that I had to sing. Well, if anybody knows me, I cannot sing. So those were a couple of my really good ones. So
cool.
We didn't really want to have a good singer there.
I made it more fun that way, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but
cool.
Yeah, so many great. First off, I think Matt touched on it. Getting to work with different people is really fun. Some of my favorite memories are, Dan Witters and I had a chance to share the stage quite a bit, and I look back and think about, and your grandpa, some of the people we've lost, and I'm not going to name them all because I won't get through them all, but you think back that you had the opportunity to have fun with them, and not just on stage, but just to work around. I thought Willy Wonka was really cool last year, mostly because it was so different than things we've done before, and we had to really convince ourselves we could do that, and I'm glad we did it, and then I enjoyed playing Wonka a lot. We've had such great shows throughout the years, though, and the characters, I don't even want to begin to think of. One of my favorite acts, we did Garth Brooks, Friends in Old Places. This was very early in the show, and it was a bunch of our friends just hanging out, having a good time, and putting this production on, and it turned out okay, but we had fun. And then I think with Zach Malcolm, we did a live number that was kind of a Jimmy Fallon, Justin Timberlake spinoff, and it was just neat to do something with a guy that talented and try to keep up with him.
Do something
those
live.
are kind of fun things.
Then we had CL Snodgrass had a live band here for, 3 years in a row, something like that. Right. And so they did a lot of our music. I almost forgot about that.
Yeah.
So,
in fact, the Gong Show you mentioned, your first one. I grew up. Chuck Barris and the Gong Show that was my afternoons, and so to have a chance to bring that on stage was really fun too.
Cool. I guess I don't need that. But you guys talk about the main cast, and then you kind of put numbers together. So the way that the show works is you have this theme and this storyline that has the main cast, like the Oompa Loompas, showing up throughout the show, and then you actually have numbers. How many numbers are actually in usually? We
have whittled that down because some of the early shows went. There's a tradition that happens at the Elks at 11 o'clock, and some of our early shows ran into that. So that's way too long of a show. So less than a dozen each half. probably 10.
19 total.
Yeah, maybe 19
And
total.
there's an intermission in there.
Yeah, but some of our early shows were easier to just have acts because it was Sullivan, and then we had the Tonight Show. We talk about Dan Witters. He played Johnny Carson, and I got to be Ed McMahon. So that was a lot of fun. And so those are the types of shows that you just introduce an act. But all these others, what we do, we have fun themes, and we try to segue the writing. Sometimes we can get there, whatever act we want. We can get there. Doesn't matter what the act is and what the scene is before that, we can make the lines somehow get there.
Yeah, very cool to kind of introduce that next act. Very, very neat. So we talked a little bit about committee members. You kind of have some that have been long running. Obviously, Randy's been around since the beginning, and Rocky's been in the cast since the beginning. Who else has been a big part in this?
Well, we've had lots over the years. I'll quickly go through this year's committee just so we have those names out there. Myself, Doc Salva, Randy Carlson, Susie Carlson, Marcel Beniga, Matthew Machad, Larry Wallace Jr., Matt McMahon, Brock Taylor, Loney Jingles, Tracy Lebo, Bruce Lafferty, Jamie Bloom, Jan Kissinger, and Brock Britt are on this year's. And there's some new ones, I think 2 new members that came on this year for us. If I can real quickly, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to talk about the show date and time, and then I'll let you wrap it up. But it's February 15th. The doors open at 3:30. There will be people in line, sometimes camping out, waiting to get in here to get their seats up front. It's really fun for us to watch that energy come into the building. The doors open at 3:30 as mentioned. There's a pre-show at 7. There is a meal from Deeks that's catered in that you can have here as well. And then the show starts at 7:30, and we'd love to see everybody out for the big show.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Come out and be entertained. So, well, thank you guys for sitting down with me today. I've learned a lot, and I know my parents have been in it for years, but I still love hearing all the history, and I know we'll be there watching. So come out and enjoy the Elks Big Show February 15th.